Welcome to Rhyme and Reason, the podcast where music meets meaning. I'm your host, Priss. Join me as we dive into the stories behind the songs, exploring the rhymes that make us move and the reasons that make us think. Across all genres, we'll dissect the lyrics, analyze the beats, and uncover the hidden gems that make music magic. Let's get into the rhythm. New episode every week. Rhyme and Reason, where every note has a story. Hey, lovely. It's your girl, Priscilla, and I am back with another installment of Rhyme and Reason with Priss. Now, I'm really excited about today's episode because I do have a very special guest. I will be introducing her in a little while. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for your support so far. Thank you for showing up and taking time to listen to the podcast. I am still getting some feedback about the first few episodes, and it's very encouraging. It's very uplifting, and I look forward to every single episode. Every new episode is exciting for me, and it takes its own life, takes its own form, really. So I'm excited. I wanted to talk today about the song, wait for it, Before You Walk Out of My Life by Monica. I am so ecstatic right now because it's my first R&B song from my favorite decade of music, the 90s. So this particular song is off of Monica's album from 1995, Miss Thing. So this track talks about the feelings of heartbreak, regret, the struggle of letting go of a fading love, the hope of a reconciliation. There's so many things we can talk about, but it's the ultimate heartbreak song. It's the ultimate love song as well. So I look forward to unpacking that with you. And just a little reminder, what we do on this show is every week I bring a song. Sometimes I'll pick one, and sometimes I will collaborate with my guest to pick a song that we both deem legendary and a song that speaks to situations that do affect us in our day-to-day. So today, this is the song we're going to be talking about. A little bit about my guest. So I have with me Natasha Mwase. She is visiting actually from the United Kingdom. She is a social worker, and her specialty is actually something that's near and dear to my heart. She works closely with people with learning disabilities and autism. So I really look forward to the part of the show where we talk about her work, how that has impacted her life, and things she would like to share as well. So stay tuned for that part of the show. So help me welcome Natasha Mwase.
Hi Priscilla.
Hi Natasha. How are you, girl?
Good, thank you.
So thank you so much for making time to have this little chit chat with me. I'm so glad because I have a fellow fan of the all things 90s and R&B specifically. So yeah, we're going to have some fun. So Before You Walk Out of My Life.
Yeah.
Yeah? So why this song?
So, and I know this is going to be quite controversial, but I am a believer that the 90s music is an era that had the best music.
Preach.
And I think, my teenage years were, mostly about music, relating to music and seeing how that fits in with, my life as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you're a big fan of Monica, I take it?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, like I said, this was released in 1995. One of the themes we'll talk about a few themes that come out of the song. So basically on this show, we talk about the lessons that we can draw out of this track that we picked, and we tried to apply it to daily life.
Yeah.
We are about celebrating music that speaks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I I love this song, and one of the things I'll start with a question I have, and then we'll get into what I think. So I have a question about the song. I'm trying to see if it was written from a place of trying to reconcile with someone with whom a relationship has failed, or it's, hey, before we officially part ways, I want you to know A, B, C. So what's your take?
Right. I think for me, I think I'm kind of caught between the fact that she was in a position where she knew that the relationship had come to an end.
Yeah.
However, she needed to kind of express, what was going on within her, and the fact that, and this is my take, that
Yeah.
she kind of knew that there was no sort of getting back into the relationship.
No fixing it.
There was no fixing it, but it was, I think, closure that was required.
I think actually there's a part towards the end where she says, I guess it's true. Cannot live without you. Don't ever go away. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So that part, that's the part that confused me. Because at first I thought it was like a closure song. Like, you know what? Before you leave, I just want you to know that I never meant to hurt you.
Yep.
I wanted this to work, and I'm sorry that it didn't. And I regret whatever actions brought us to this place.
Yep.
Yeah, but then it's that part that made me feel like it was a plea for, hey, can we go back and try again?
Try and work things out.
At the same time, I think it could possibly be on purpose, because it's talking about the conflict of knowing something is not working out, but because it's familiar and because it feels right, and because the plan was to be with that person, you want to make it work.
Yep.
You're afraid to try anything beyond that. So what's your take on that?
Okay, so for me, the part especially that says, cannot live without you, I think that then, takes me to a sense of, like what you said, that not believing that after I leave this relationship, I could get something better, or I could be with someone else.
Right.
A sense of not, I guess, knowing your worth as well.
Right.
And for me, I do find a contradiction as well, because there's the sense of saying, okay, I'm saying bye, but I also don't want you to go away. Yeah, so I think kind of trying to unpick that.
Right.
That part for me is yeah, and I think it's trying to unpick whether she's actually just trying to express herself, or she's trying to work things out.
Right. She does convey the feeling of like a deep heartbreak really well, I find. Can we talk a little bit about heartbreak?
Yeah.
And how that has a way of impacting or changing the trajectory of your life. How do you find is an effective way to deal with heartbreak?
Ooh, okay. I would say that that is personal to every individual.
Yes.
So I think for some people, it's, heartbreak is something that they find something else to replace it with. And I guess in time, then, the heartbreak kind of goes away. But I think with some people, it's a matter of going through the grief and sort of grief process of, I guess, denial, and, getting to that place of accepting that actually the relationship
didn't work out.
has failed.
Is there always someone to blame?
No.
No, right?
No.
See, and I think we get caught up in trying to find or assign blame when something falls. I mean, sometimes you know who's to blame. I mean, there are some circumstances where, actions have led to the demise of a relationship. But I find, which leads me to another thing I wanted to talk about, because they both, based on the limited information I have from the lyrics of the song, I would like to say these are people that were actually devoted to each other. Seemed like it was going well.
Yep.
So I would only assume that these are two good people who meant well.
Yeah.
Something went wrong, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And at this point, just because there's two people in a relationship does not make them the right person for each other.
I agree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's really tough.
It is tough.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'll jump in with sort of my social work background on this one. And I think it's about understanding that human beings are, a difficult species.
Right.
So human behavior is very difficult to understand, unpack. It's also determined by our environment, how we grew up, the things that we faced and that we haven't dealt with. So I think that would also lead into, some toxic traits that we have,
Right.
and then we meet, and our expectations of one another as well then sort of clash.
Right.
So I think there's a whole lot to unpack. And I think that's why I say there's no one to blame, but there's also someone to blame, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, and I kind of wish it would be so much easier if we were assigned our person per se. If we were assigned that
would be
at
so
birth,
ideal.
and we all knew who was right for us in every way, and we didn't have to go through the the kissing of frogs before finding Prince Jeremy. But yeah, I mean, if only. But what would be the fun in that, eh?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I know with every heartbreak and everything that didn't work out, I have learned a little bit about myself with every single one. I mean, I wouldn't relive it. I wouldn't go back and I would not unbreak my heart just to break it again, just to, to analyze it. But I will say that with everything that didn't work out, I have learned something about myself. So it's I guess heartbreak is a rite of passage, so to speak. We, we find out,
and
growth
and actually discovering oneself as well.
Resilience.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know I had it.
Definitely think that's a big one.
I'm such a softie. I didn't think I could survive a lot of stuff that I have survived. So I guess it's a necessary part of life.
Yeah.
The one other thing I wanted to talk about is how universal this message of love and loss is. So that's one thing I appreciate about the lyrics of this song. It does speak to, anyone can relate to the message in the song. So regret. Let's talk a little bit about regret. You know how they say hindsight is 20/20? You know how you always think, I should have done things this way. I should have loved him better, or I should have spent more time with him. I should have listened better. I say him because that's relatable to me, but yeah. And
it works both ways.
It does work both ways. So what can be done? What can be done proactively, whether before or during a relationship, do you think? What can be done to make sure we're living out healthy relationships with each other so that we don't find ourselves in situations where we wish we could have done better, but we didn't.
Okay. You know, and I'll this is quite personal.
Okay.
But yeah, one thing that I've realized from the relationships that I've been in is those that love you can see better than you.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we tend to be so drowned in love that when our loved ones do tell us and raise these red flags, we are so blinded that we ourselves can't see the red flags.
Oh.
So my biggest one is to understand that the people around you are important in how, I guess, you take off a relationship.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's also about understanding that not everyone will give you the best advice. So when I say this, I talk about sort of like that close circle of people, those people that you know love and care about you.
Whose opinion you can trust.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not everything. I mean, you've also got your own intuition and you've got your own, your own judgment to go by, but don't discount it.
That's it.
So that's huge, because I found out today just how much you and I have in common. It's it's crazy. It's crazy. And one of the things I remember when we had a little chit chat before the show, I was sharing how for a long time I went around feeling offended and feeling hurt. Sometimes it was justified.
Yeah.
But there are some times when I've had to look at my own toxicity, things that I do that may not be pleasant.
That is a big one.
Things that may not be pleasant for, to the person I'm with, and that may not be pleasant to myself.
Yeah.
There are some hurts that I've attributed to the next person that were really self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And so having taken time, outside the whole dating thing, it's really, it really opens up your eyes. So I guess just to answer that question, or like my contribution to that, like what can we do so that we can equip ourselves, for better relationships or healthier relationships. And I have to put this disclaimer, I am no expert at all when it comes to love and relationships, but
same here.
But I will say it based on my own experiences. I find that if you're going to engage in a healthy relationship in the future, learn to appreciate yourself. Self-love. Learn more about yourself. What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What you don't like? Yeah. And reach that point where you're okay with you. And like Natasha was saying a little bit earlier, when someone comes into your life to share that love with you, they're just adding to love that's already there. So they're not coming in to complete you, but you complete each other in a sense. You're two completes that are making one beautiful thing. So that's my very amateur contribution to all things love and relationships, because anyone who knows me knows I've had my fair share of hurt. So like I said, it's not all it's some of it is self-inflicted, and I'm learning what to look out for within myself. What are my red flags? I'm working on those.
That's it.
I think they're kind of pink now.
Gotta get them to white.
We're not there yet. We're trying to get them to green, girl.
Oh yeah.
But we're still not there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting somewhere. And I'm really enjoying talking about these lessons that we get from these songs. And I appreciate
Yes.
you coming by to talk about this with me, because as we talk, as we explore these themes, I'm learning so much that I wish I had known before about life in general, not just love and relationships, but just life in
Life.
general.
Yeah.
So my next thing here, I want to ask you, you're a big fan of music.
Yeah.
How has music impacted your life personally?
Okay. So I think I mentioned in the beginning that most of my love for music has been from the 90s. And that's because I personally find that that music was more pure, was more real, it was relatable. So I think how music has impacted my life is mostly from that era.
Yeah.
But I think also just being able to, I think as I was explaining before, that with me, music is more about, I do listen to the lyrics,
Yeah.
but I kind of am drawn to certain beats.
Right.
And then that way I then discover what the lyrics mean. So yeah, I'm weird in that sense. But
we should have a little chit chat about, those songs that we used to sing along to, like without everything.
yes.
We would sing, we would belt them out, had no clue what they were about.
Oh yeah.
And then now we're older, we're like,
now I understand what that meant.
I can't sing this with my kids in the
Oh,
car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, maybe let's skip this one. Let's skip this one. Let's
listen to the next one.
But yes, like I'm so with you on that. I think part of it is it was our time of it was our coming of age time.
Yeah.
So everything was probably more amplified. The messages that we took in, the music that we heard, we were soaking up everything because we were little sponges at that point, right? So it stuck with us and we stayed there in a sense. I'm actually teaching myself to open up and learn, the newer stuff.
Yeah. That's me as well. That's me as well, yeah.
Because there was a time when I just could not. I was so stuck in the 90s, it was not even funny. But I'm learning that some of the messages in the songs that are happening right now are relevant to life right now as well. And if I'm going to relate to my kids at all, I have to understand what they're listening to. Yeah. I have to try to understand what they're consuming.
Yeah.
So yeah, once in a while we will play that mumble stuff, but it's growing. I mean, no, it hasn't grown on me yet, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
I'll get there. I will say a proud moment. Let me share with you a proud moment. Mm-hmm. When my son bust out his old school playlist and he was listening to Anita Baker. Oh. It was a very proud moment.
I can imagine.
It was I was like, okay, I did something right. And he was talking to me about Miss Erykah Badu, and I was like, okay, kid, what is this? Okay. I am loving this.
I'm impressed.
So I'm passing along some wisdom onto the next generation. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, hold the applause. But yeah, so I just wanted to thank you for taking time to talk about this song, which I absolutely love. It's on my playlist, and it's on my playlist of greats because I think it does speak to things that matter.
Yeah.
Any final remarks on this song before we move into talking about what you do? And yeah.
I think we have covered, most of what this song could kind of bring to sort of, I guess, the audience and to people in general. Mm-hmm. So yeah, nothing to add really, just to kind of say that let's go out there and love correctly
Yes, let's get it right. Let's
Let's
get it
love
right
correctly. And
and
when we
not.
don't love correctly, let's reflect. I think reflection is,
Yes.
and reflection doesn't have to be when things go wrong. Reflection can be something that you do daily,
Yes.
towards the person that you love. Yeah, let's love correctly.
Intentionally.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the word.
Yeah. So intentionality is key.
Yeah.
And it's great that you can pour your heart out now, but it's, the message is kind of soured if you're now taking, pouring out your heart when something is over.
Yeah.
Let's not wait until it's over.
That's it.
Hey.
I think that's the message. I think that's the message.
You know what? Can we say that again? Let's not wait till it's over.
Until
to talk, to pour out.
To pour out how we feel. And when things are going wrong, I think,
fix them
let's
as they
fix
go.
them.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the work that you do. Okay. Now, before I get into that, I wanted to say on every show, like I said, I do drop one personal thing. So we're getting to know each other as we go. And one thing that kind of nudged me to have this conversation with you is I'm really touched personally by the work that you do. Mm-hmm. Because I have been, a loved one of mine has been, a beneficiary of the work that you do. So I love someone who is near and dear to me in like the nearest and dearest, who is diagnosed autistic and nonverbal. I'm going to say nonverbal for now because I do believe that with a lot of effort, and I do know by God's grace, we will get to a place where, we are seeing improvements as we speak. So
that's good.
So it's a cause that's near and dear to my heart. So I wanted you to tell us what you do and how that has been impactful in your community or
Okay, so just to give a brief background. So I left Zimbabwe when I was 18 and had no clue about what I wanted to do. But I think, my path in life just led me to what I currently do now. So my first job actually was working with people with learning disabilities and autism. I was 19, I think, at the time, and I had no clue at all. And especially, I bet you, times have changed, but you can imagine 20 years ago, it was like, disability or anyone that was different was sort of frowned upon, especially, in the African community. So going there, it really opened my eyes, working with people that are, different or not neurodiverse was something that really opened up my eyes, and I sort of pushed myself towards that road, so to say. Until, I did a degree in social work and then specialized in a diploma in autism. I think one thing that I always say when people ask me about, especially autism, is being able to love difference.
Right.
I love difference.
Yeah.
We live in a world that wants people to be to work or be a certain way.
Right.
And I feel life in general is just not like that. So when I do work with people that are autistic, I push them to be who they are and not try and change them to fit into
the
mold and the community of the sort of neurotype. And just to see people thrive and be who they are is a fantastic thing, because I think we've created a world where we want people to be a certain way. but it's about pushing people to be who they are and
loving them for it.
loving exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
really
I'm
profound.
really passionate about that.
Oh, it shows. It really shows. And I know we'll talk a little bit more off air, but I wanted to see, because you're visiting home right now. You're visiting Zimbabwe, and I wanted to ask, what's your take on the level of awareness and acceptance? I can say from a non-professional standpoint, I don't know if if I'm noticing it more because it's something that's near and dear to me, so I'm on the lookout for it, or I'm exposed to it. But I feel like there's a rise in the awareness.
Definitely,
there's a rise in even resources,
definitely,
that are available to help make life easier, or get the necessary, help, support. Support is more like it. So, what's your take? How do you see this level of awareness here?
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that when I left 20 years ago, it was totally different.
Right.
And hence why I personally didn't have that awareness.
Right.
But I've noticed even in my profession that, because when we talk about maybe Europe, the United Kingdom, those are things that they've sort of had, and that's not really an issue for them. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely say that there is more awareness, moving down to sort of Africa.
Yes.
And yeah, I love that. I think that's beautiful. There's acceptance, there's support.
Yes.
I think we could do better.
Oh, by all means. Yeah. Yes, we can definitely do better. But I'm just glad that we're moving in the right direction there. So if we can have more people that are passionate about, that cause, and more health promotion, really, in regards to any kind of neurodivergence, I think should be supported. Yeah. So I thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And do you have any handles or any platforms you want people to, where they can follow you and see some more of what you're working on?
Okay, so my Instagram is Natasha_Lorette1, and Facebook it's Natasha MO3.
Okay.
So those are my social media handles.
All right. Thank you so much, Natasha. So lovely. There you have it. Thank you for joining us today. And as always, if you like what you hear, please share it with your lovelies, and make sure that you're following and subscribing to all our pages on all platforms. It's Rhyme and Reason with Priss. And I look forward to talking with you and conversing with you on the said platforms, getting some more feedback. Keep it coming. I welcome it and I thank you for it. And if you have any suggestions on legendary, iconic songs that you would like me to cover, I would be more than happy to cover those with you. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you. This is Priss signing out. Neurodiverse. Neurodiverse. Neurodiverse.
Yeah, I think